So let us discuss this Monday's newspaper, that is 20th July 2015. The first important article is related to the madrasa modernization. Now, what is a madrasa? A learning center, basically madrasa mean. Now, the government of India, it tries to see madrasas as the only reason for the backwardness of the Muslims. And it tries to see the modernization of madrasas is the source of the development, is the means of the development for the Muslims. Now analyze how far it can be true. Rajendra Sachar committee, it has clearly said only for the 4% of the students they go to the madrasas. It again, among the Muslims, the more and more orientation is towards to choose for the better formal education that provides for the opportunities. In these circumstances, the madrasa modernization is a natural choice for their relevance. To show their relevance, they have to reform themselves. Now, the madrasas form a little sphere of the life of a minority individual and his needs of the education. So, all the other people who are depending on the madrasas, the major factor, more than the religion, it is the socio-economic status. They want to have some form of education, and the madrasas becoming the last mile access to these people. So in this context, providing or improving the educational opportunities for the people, especially minorities, it can be a better solution rather than narrowly focusing on madrasas and finding them as a reason for the non-progressiveness of the Muslims. So in this context, let us see a small mind map which I have prepared over here. Now when you talk about madrasa modernization, the government view, what is this exactly is? Madrasa's improvement or modernization, bringing in scientific education, is the only way forward for the development of the Muslims. The crisis of the madrasas, in the opinion of the government, is they lost their relevance. It means all syllabus curriculum is obsolete. And added to that, they are responsible for the radicalization of the young population and radicalization of the minds of the children. And after that, it is also limiting the opportunities, and also the teachers, etc. These people are also been working under the menial conditions. So the madrasa education is being seen from the retrogressive perspective by the government. So in this context, the government trying to impose its madrasa modernization program from a top to bottom approach. This madrasa modernization is how to be seen from the lens of the secularism, where the trust between the government and the community matters the most. So in this context, if the government wants to bring in modernization of the madrasas, it could have tried a community-centric bottom-up approach. So as I said before, the problem is not just about the madrasas, it is about opportunities and development of the minorities as a whole, which has been reduced into a narrow sphere of the madrasas. So in this context, the solution is, so if we want to modernize the madrasas, a bottom-up approach where community consultation becomes the primary mode of modernization, primary mode of organization of the madrasas, that is one thing we can try for. And added to that, the education of the minorities has to be understood from various other perspectives, that is their socio-economic status, and a lack of alternative schooling, and also the desire for the minorities to have culturally appropriate education. So these three becomes very much important factors as a matter of a solution. So in India, the major problem is we try to see every question from a binary view. So we believe that there is an yes or no answers for every question. Now, the issue of the madrasas is no way different from that. We try to see the madrasa modernization from a secular versus religious perspective, traditional versus modernization perspective. So when you have this binary view, when you reduce these social concepts to the binary views, then seeing the solutions, understanding the gaps in between, it becomes very much difficult. So the governmental view of madrasa modernization, it is nothing but this particular binary view. So in this context, if derecognition of the education of the children in madrasas, understand this, what exactly it is doing. The poor people are going to the madrasas. They are going because they don't have any other opportunity. So in this context, derecognition of their degrees, it is depriving the marginalized sections or socio-economically weaker sections further weak. So that is what is my question over here. Think on this. Is this Madrasa modernization program, so is it depriving the existing access which is in the form of this rudimentary system? Is this depriving them this minimal access which is available to them is the question. Now, on the other hand, the forcible imposition of a particular program or modernization, it is generally attracts opposition from the conservative elements of the minorities. So in this context, in 2009, central minority, the Madrasas bill that was introduced. And next is, so the minorities see it as a compromise on their autonomy. The Madrasas intervention of the government has compromised on their autonomy. For that purpose, the better way is to try it from a bottom-up approach. So this is what is Madrasa modernization. So Madrasas, what are they? They stand for the places of study. So what is the crisis of the Madrasas? Their relevance is a crisis. Radicalization, places of radicalization, and the future opportunities and development are limited for these people. So Madrasa modernization, it's a binary view. We took it from a binary view from the governmental perspective. And we have seen Rajendra Sachar committee, etc. So let us think that the state-led modernization have to be replaced with a bottom-up approach which is community-centric, which has got the greater trust with the minorities. So these are the things we need to understand with regard to Madrasa modernization. Think that the Madrasa modernization have to be understood from a greater perspective of the socio-economic dimension of the minorities. That is what is the question can be. So try to understand that and try to answer that question. And next is the Chief Justice of India and its status. Now if you see Article 124, it talks about the appointment of the judges of Supreme Court, which says that the CJI need to be consulted. So this word consultation has undergone through various definitions and redefinitions from the first judge's case, second judge's case and the third judge's case. And the primacy was given to the judiciary from the second judge's case in the appointment of the judges to the Supreme Court and the High Courts. On the other hand, the Schedule 3 do not differentiate the Chief Justice of India from the other judges of the Supreme Court. He is been, or else there are no special provisions for the oath of office for the Chief Justice of India as like the President or Vice President. And for understanding the Chief Justice of India, we have to understand how our judicial system works. Though executive and legislature, they are being built on the federal principles, but judiciary, we have a unified one single system. So it means we have an integrated unified judicial system. That is the reason why the judgments of a court can be implemented throughout the country as per the Article 141 of the Constitution. So in this context, the National Judicial Appointments Commission, it has got 6 members. Now, if a Chief Justice of India is seen as the representative of the judiciary of the country as a whole, then he shall be given the primacy in the appointment of the judges. Now, in this context, NJAC makes him one among the others, one among the 6 other members. So it means that it is violating the primacy of the Chief Justice of India as the representative of the judiciary as a whole. So in this context, we can see the Chief Justice from 2 perspectives. So from a judicial matters perspective, in judicial matters he is first among the equals. And with regard to the matters of consultation, under Article 124, we can see he has that is a pater familias of the entire judiciary. It means he represents the entire judiciary. So in that case, the NJAC is under serious question for the primacy of the judiciary with regard to the appointments of the judges. And next is, recently an article has come up on the telecom committees on the net neutrality. So in this context, there are few objections which are raised. The first thing is, there is a differentiation between the VoIP services which are domestic and international. It means the service such as WhatsApp, etc., if they are domestic, then they can be regulated by the government. And second thing is, if an service or an application, it is providing for something called as net. the violating the data neutrality, then it has to be objected. On the other hand, if a service provider is violating the net neutrality, or else if he is providing for a differentiation of service or free service or free data usage, yes, it can be allowed for. So this particular differentiation is questioned in this particular article over here. And the third thing is the data equality. Now the argument over here to provide for the regulation of the domestic call services of voice over internet protocol is said to be the service providers will not be interested to expand their networks, believing that it may lead to the use of networks by these agencies and ultimately throwing them into the losses. So this is what is being said over here. So in this context, the importance is this. The importance is the increased consumption of the data, automatically it is going to generate the revenue, which is proven already in the developed countries. These are the arguments which are being spoken over here. Now, this is the beautiful article which I like today. So, with regard to internet governance, there are two models. One is multi-stakeholder model, multilateral model. This multilateral model, it is suggested by United States and Germany. And this multilateral model is suggested by China and Russia. Multilateral model is suggested by China and Russia, and multi-stakeholder model is suggested by US and Germany. Now, in the multilateral model, the state and the governments have a central role to negotiate the internet governance across the world. In a multi-stakeholder model, the people who are the parties to this, that is civil society, industry, and government, all these people, they collectively will participate in the regulation of the internet. Now, India previously, it has recommended for a multilateral model. Now, India, if you see the arguments on the net neutrality, it has shifted towards a multi-stakeholder model. What is the problem with the multi-stakeholder model? Identification of the stakeholders. Now, defining the stakeholders very narrowly and confining them only to the business interest and corporates, it may shift the control over the internet to the few corporates. That is the only danger with regard to the multi-stakeholder model. But India is learning the skill of developing the multi-stakeholderism, which is a positive step. I'm sorry about that. Multilateral means governments across the countries, they try to make the decisions with regard to the control over the internet. Multi-stakeholder means the participants and the users of the internet. So the stakeholders will make the decisions on the future of the internet. India wanted to shift from, or India made a decision to shift from multilateral to multi-stakeholder model. The China rejects the Pakistan's drone claim, and it has been so what exactly, it is not about the drone over here. So China's attitude is changing, where China wants to have a peaceful India-Pakistan relations so that its interests can be better served in the region. Because One Belt, One Road initiative can move forward in a peaceful atmosphere between India and China. So China is contemplating SCO as a platform to bring in the peace negotiations or peace work between India and Pakistan. That is one positive development over here. So these are the things we need to understand in today's article. And thank you very much. Now I request you one thing. I gave you one question today. So the excessive stress on Madrasa modernization. It is providing for the last mile solution which is available for education of the socially and economically poor minorities. So is Madrasa modernization, is it depriving them even this particular benefit or not? So this particular thing, try to write a question on this. In the discussion columns, try to post an answer to these questions. Just I try to see how you are understanding the things. So Madrasa modernization, is it a concept, a state-centered Madrasa modernization concept? Is it a right approach or a wrong approach? Provide your opinion and try to write 150 words on this. And I'll assure you that I'll provide you the feedback on that particular thing. Right? Thank you very much. And then better discuss these particular topics rather than thank you, sir, or something else. You discuss the topics so that it also adds up to my knowledge and it helps me. Thank you very much.